Chair recognizes Mr. LaTurner from Kansas for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. This hearing comes as our nation celebrates National Police Week, a chance to thank and honor the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to protect us and our communities despite increasingly dangerous conditions and surging crime rates in cities across America. According to FBI crime statistics, amongst the 20 cities with the highest incident rates of violent crime per capita, 17 are led by Democrat mayors. My colleagues may not like it, but Democrat policies regarding law and order inevitably lead to lawlessness and social discord. I said this at our last hearing on our Capitol, but it's worth repeating. Maintaining public order and safety are a fundamental responsibility of government. Establishing justice and ensuring domestic tranquility are mandates our founding fathers wrote into the first line of our Constitution. Recidivism rates in America are amongst the highest in the world. Almost 44% of criminals released from prison return within a year, which is why I was mortified to learn Mr. Graves declined to prosecute 67% of arrests in Washington, D.C. last year. That's an astronomically high figure. Just 7 years ago, that number was 35%. And for context, Chicago, which is grappling with a well-documented crime wave of their own, declined only 14% of cases last year. We simply can't combat hardened criminals with prosecutorial pacifism. Madam Mayor, juvenile arrests for carjacking rose precipitously beginning in 2020 when COVID lockdowns closed schools. Would you agree that the D.C. government's decision to keep youth out of schools for a prolonged period of time led to an increase in juvenile crime?
I can't directly link closing schools to juvenile crime. I do suspect that a whole ecosystem of disrupted services affected youth in need.
Do you think closing the schools contributed to the increase in juvenile crime?
I think a lot contributes to crime, and we don't always know what causes crime to go up. But our approach has always been to throw all of our resources at an issue, including having our kids to be the first in the region back in their public schools with their teachers in the facilities that are best able to serve them.
Please describe, Madam Mayor, the state of police morale in D.C. over the past few years. How have Councilman Allen and others contributed to the state of the police morale? Would you say that the council's emergency police reform is contributing to the growing violence in D.C.?
I think, and I have the police chief here, and I work every day to make sure that our police know that they are supported. You're not going to find a bigger supporter of the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, D.C. Than me. I also know that policing is a tough profession, and making sure that we have the right policy environment to support our police is also one of my big jobs. Part of that will be introducing legislation when police make arrests, they can have some certainty that work is going to be respected throughout our public safety ecosystem. It's also going to let us get back on track to get to 4,000 officers. And it's also going to make it possible for me to recruit the next great police chief of the Metropolitan Police Department.
So I take it from your statement that you are very critical of Mr. Graves' decision to decline the prosecution of 67% of arrests. Is that accurate?
I want to make sure that all of the work of our Metropolitan Police, all of the bravery of people who come forward as witnesses is carefully considered as cases move through the criminal justice system.
Mr. Graves, you heard it. That sounds like very carefully worded criticism, but criticism nonetheless. For you, Mr. Graves, Chief Conte postulates that the average homicide suspect has been arrested 11 times prior to committing homicide. We're 136 days into 2023, and there's already been 80 homicides in D.C. this year. That's 5 more than all of 2022, and on pace for approximately 215 homicides in 2023. Mr. Graves, your policies are directly endangering the public. In how many instances have you declined to prosecute someone who was eventually charged with homicide?
So, thank you for the question. As a career prosecutor, nothing is of greater concern to me than community safety.
No, Mr. Graves, I appreciate that. and I appreciate you thanking me for the question. I would love to thank you for a direct answer. How many have ended in homicide that you did not prosecute?
So the statistic you cite of 67% is a snapshot in time of what the office looked like when I came into the role. From day one, actually before day one, I sat down with Chief Conti.
Don't quibble, Mr. Graves. Don't quibble with that statistic. Just answer this direct question. In how many instances have you declined to prosecute someone who was eventually charged with homicide?
So I would have to check with my team to get back to you, but sitting here today, I'm not aware of an instance.
You don't know that for a fact? That's not something that you would...
Of the 15,000 arrests that occurred last year, I would like to check before confirming on the record.
Well, I'm talking about those that commit homicide. I would assume that you would keep some sort of record of what their interaction with the police have been and what your interaction with your office has been with those individuals.
So what I can tell you is we are tracking the recidivism rates of individuals that we charged versus individuals that we didn't charge in 2022, and what we've actually seen is that the recidivism rate is actually slightly higher for the individuals we charged than the individuals we didn't charge.
I'm out of time. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Chair